We believe the approach to business is ROI, return on interaction. So we don't want to measure handle time. I don't want to be somebody rushing through a phone call because that means you don't care about your brand. And our vision is to work with clients who care about their brand.
Welcome to Modern Entrepreneur. Today we have my friend Craig Handley, who is an entrepreneur, a speaker, musician, and a philanthropist. He believes in living life like an extreme sport.
You got it.
All right. So tell me about you, Craig. What's your unique skill set? I don't even know. I'm afraid of what you're going to say right now.
Who knows? I can write music pretty darn fast. I think my unique skill set's being creative. I think I can find solutions to things that are something that needs to happen today, or I can see solutions to things that should happen in 4 months or 6 months or a year. And it's having a kind of a pretty creative brain in trying to solve problems sometimes before they happen or even after they happen. I don't really panic. I just, my brain kind of likes to figure things out like a jigsaw puzzle.
So your bio didn't actually tell the story very well, but you have a very large call center that's based in Mexico.
Yeah, we're in Hermosillo, Mexico, like 3 hours south of Tucson.
3 hours south of Tucson. You've got hundreds of employees there?
About 1,100.
1,100, yeah.
Over 1,000 now.
And you've had an interesting story because you grew to be, I think, the #1 fastest growing business on the Inc. 500, and then nearly tanked the thing a few years ago, and then have now turned it around again.
We've gone through a couple of turnarounds. It's funny, I was at watching Clayt from Infusionsoft speak.
Who's that?
He's their CEO and founder. Oh, you know, okay. I know. I shouldn't bring that up in this thing, but I was watching him speak. He was talking about going from 300,000 to $1 million, from $1 million to 3, then 3 to 10 million, and then 10 million to 30, and just and then I'm talking to Dean Graziosi. There's not a lot of people in the planet that have gone from 0 to 10 million to 20 million to 100 million, and there's different challenges. And they're challenges that if you don't know about them, you're not even aware they exist.
Right.
And they revolve around culture, around hiring the right people, around when to fire. They revolve around cash flow. A lot of people, I even thought I was going to be, taking cash into the business, and all of a sudden we're growing, and they're like, no, your reserve has to double, your cash flow reserve has to double. Oh, and by the way, you're making enough money, so you got to put aside over $1 million for taxes. And all of a sudden I'm like, well, so I've really just reached a whole new level of broke, right?
Exactly.
So it's definitely interesting. And so we've done a lot of turnarounds. Last year we hired a client, or a client hired us, and they didn't pay us after a couple of months. They kind of extended it out and had some excuses as to why they wanted to review the books. And all of a sudden they said, oh, you don't agree with how we want to pay you, so we're not going to pay you, talk to our lawyers. And I had paid almost, in payroll alone, I had almost $600,000 out of pocket. And then they were supposed to pay us, of course, there's costs over payroll. So I was out of pocket somewhere between $750,000 and $1.5 million, depending on
how you count.
Depending on how you count. So all of a sudden, when you're a small business, it's like swimming from the swimming pool to the top. You have some oxygen. When you get to that, 5 to 10 million, it's like you're at 50 to 70 feet. You can get to the top. You might need the bends, the chamber. Decompression chamber. But you're going to survive. But when you have an expense level at that 200,000 a week mark, and all of a sudden you're 150 feet under, your money dries up really fast. And so we maxed out our credit line of $500,000. We took a loan for $350,000 at 14%, almost $1 million in debt. And we're like, okay, what are we going to do now? And it was interesting. It was certainly a great learning lesson. I went down to the business and started going through the finances and worked on our percentages and made sure that looked good. We worked on some performance stuff and fixed some of our numbers on the customer service side so we could charge the clients a little bit more for some value on the other side. I redid the entire compensation plan again, looking for some of my top performers to help lift us. We gained $30,000 a week there on $3,000 of an expense. And we went from $150,000 a week in revenue to around 450 a week in revenue within 3 months. Finished the year profitable around 1.5 million or so at the end of the year. And this year we're on track to do, over 20 million and potentially, 3.5, 4 million in profit.
Yeah, amazing. And that all happened pretty quickly.
That was just last year, pretty quick turnaround.
Yeah, that's amazing. So what did that experience teach you?
That I still know nothing.
Yeah. You started this business years ago, right?
Yeah, 11 years ago. We've been around, this is our 12th year, I think. 11th year, 12th year. But I think what you learn is no matter what happens, you can only control what you can control.
Yeah.
And so focus on what you can control. Try to keep your mind off the things you can't. And as an entrepreneur, there are always roller coasters. And if you just keep your brain on a focus forward, basis and controlling what you can do, it's like that image of the guy who's chipping away at the rock and there's gold on the other side. You're going to get there, and I don't think anybody who believes they're going to succeed can fail if they just keep their mind on what success looks like.
Keep moving forward.
Yeah, so I just said, what are we going to do to fix it? It was never, for me, I was never worried about the fact that
the long term
we were $1 million in debt. A little nervous about it, but like, whatever, let's figure it out. And it turned out I think every problem becomes maybe your best solution as your business evolves, if you look at it in the right light.
Right, interesting. So what was you just gave me kind of like a lot of steps you took to kind of turn the business around, but in terms of you turned it around and then grew it dramatically also. So what is working now in your business to grow from a few $1 million to 20 in a year? Well,
like I mentioned, I'm creatives. My little superpower is creativity. Well, when we had this client walk away, I realized I had 300 agents that I wasn't really utilizing. And so I was trying to figure out where I could work with them. And I know, again, one of my talents is sales training. I can get in front of somebody who has no idea how to sell and then teach them how to sell anything, really. Yeah. And so I worked with these people myself. And then I talked to one of my clients we took their Spanish phone calls and said, we'd like to test your English. And so we worked out how we would do it with the client, and we took a risk on the billing and things like that and really put a lot of pressure on performing. And I even sat with the agents that took phone calls. And we ended up tripling their revenue per call in English almost out of the gate. Maybe within 3 weeks, we were tripling their revenue per call. So if they were making $8, actually they were at $8, we had them at 24. So they had 10,000 calls. It was an additional 3.7 million in profit for them. And they just looked at me and said, how quickly can you grow? Because we've got 85,000 calls. Yeah. And so we were like, okay, well, let's take a second campaign. And we started growing it. And of course, that helps dig us out of it. And then we found some other customer service business. We worked hard on customer service. So many people measure. One of the keys to growing a business is understanding what you want in your business and focusing on that. We had a lot of clients that were focused on average handle time, AHT. How long does it take to handle a customer service call? We believe the approach to business is ROI, return on interaction. So we don't want to measure handle time. I don't want to be somebody rushing through a phone call, because that means you don't care about your brand. And our vision is to work with clients who care about their brand. So we trained our agents to personalize and disarm the customer, even building a rapport map that pops up when somebody says they live in Nebraska. All the facts of Nebraska pops up, and not that anybody lives in Nebraska, but it's the same for any state. And so our agents are able to build rapport, and in that first minute and a half of building rapport, they're able to create a bond with the customer that turns them into a raving fan. And even if you have to refund their money, they still leave feeling like you're a great brand, a great experience. Well, as a result, we were driving 50 to 110,000 a week in new sales, and we were saving. If 100 calls came in and 30 wanted to cancel, we'd save 12 or 15. Yeah. So we were able to show that even though you were spending $4 a call, we were bringing in $750 in new revenue on those calls. And so we were able to show a positive experience in the customer service world. And so that allowed us to go from 10 seats to 50 with one client. We went from 20 to 80 with another. And so we were growing dedicated, which every business is like a pillar. If you have a bar stool and you have one client, you're going to fall over a lot. But if you have 4, legs to the bar stool, you're going to have a more solid business. So we were building pillars that really secured the business and created variable revenue streams all over the place, which allowed us to stabilize the business and and to grow it in a way that today, I mean, we feel really good about where we're at.
Sleep better at night at the end of the day. So you're systemizing things. We talk, the audience for this show is largely like small business owners. So a lot of the kind of like numbers and the level at which you're playing is foreign to most of the people that are probably watching this. But we do talk a lot about systemizing and thinking about process, and you're talking about that. It's interesting to notice that even at 1,100 employees, and that's just in Mexico. You got a bunch more up here, I'm sure. You're talking about systemizing at an incredibly deep level. You're talking about systemizing the process of building rapport by automating the delivery of stuff to talk about to these customers you're talking about over the phone. What else are you kind of like learning about right now at kind of like the cutting edge of where you're at? Most of us haven't had 1,000 employees, and things like you said, Clayton mentioned, things change as you get bigger. And what is the next kind of like cutting edge of learning for you as a leader of a 1,100 person company?
I think one of the things we've really been working on is our culture and our core values. And one of the things I learned that any business should take into consideration, and again, you talk about systemization, all we do is systemize everything on a bigger scale. So if you were going to build a business, I think Vern Harnish talks about the most important thing is having meetings, every day. And meetings do suck, but if you run them correctly, it should take maybe 10 minutes to have a meeting and understand everything within your business on a day-to-day basis. With a small company, it could take even less time, but it's important to have that communication. With us, we may have 25 people in the huddle, and we're running through that meeting very quickly, and then we have follow-up meetings behind it. But communication is definitely a key no matter what level you're playing at.
Yeah, it's hard.
One of the things that I'm focused on now is employees, and I think that a lot of companies don't understand that employees make up the growth. And many employees that work for you maybe didn't dream of being a phone operator, or they didn't dream of, writing code or whatever. Maybe they wanted to be a dancer or a musician or whatever. And then understanding what happiness is and teaching happiness in a business. And so I was working, talking with some of the folks over at Zappos, and they suggested I read Matthew Kelly's book, Dream Manager. And so I put that together, and I was having some conversations with John Butcher from Lifebook, and he's got 12 pillars of growth in his Lifebook program, and we kind of looked at what those pillars were. And in our Dream Cultures program, Dream Trust, we put together 6 pillars. And the first thing we do with our employees is work with them on what their dreams are. And we basically start out our training by saying, we're training you to quit. We want you to live your own dreams. So one of the things, as a CEO that I'm always trying to grow and learn, and I'm just trying to figure out, what the secret to success is. And one of the secrets I've learned is creating a work environment for your employees that nobody can touch or compete with.
Yeah, people would never leave.
Yeah, they never want to leave. And our turnover went from 24% down to 2% during this turnaround because we focused on things to make our employees happy.
Yeah, amazing.
It's almost too low, the turnover. Right. And we've had people go out, like we had a guy who was a lawyer, went out and he put up his own shingle, and now he has his own law firm because he worked with us and did really good on the phones.
Yeah,
and we helped him through that process.
Yeah.
We've had some people leave and become the best car salesman for a dealership for a full year. They were the number one guy month over month, and we had like 3 people do that. We have a guy in Tijuana that worked for us who's the number one guy 2 years in a row for CMEX.
Yeah.
Selling, and he's their best sales guy 2 years in a row.
And these are your success stories.
Oh, there's a ton more.
I mean, I'm just saying that, like, you're sitting here on film bragging about these employees that left you.
I'm so proud of them. Yeah,
exactly.
It's so amazing when people. Another guy, Manuel, went on and he's running Uber in Hermosillo. And I'm like, just amazing stories of people who we trained to quit, go after their dreams.
Right. So if you could go back, when did you start the business? You said 11 years ago? Or?
The call center was like 11 or 12, and I was consulting before that.
Yeah. So if you could go back, and kind of give yourself a piece of advice earlier in your career, what would it be?
Sometimes I think life's lessons are there for you to grow, and I think life's all about growing. I might tell myself not to worry so much about all the little things, because life is set out to challenge you. And if you think that your business is going great, there's probably something in your personal life that's not. If your personal life's going great, there's probably curveball coming in your business. It's just, life is designed to challenge you. So you have to be prepared for the challenges. But life's also designed, for you to succeed. And so if you keep your mind on the things that you want and off the things you don't want, then you're probably going to be just fine. So don't stress so much over the little things. That might be a good piece of advice, because I know there's been times when emotion gets the best of me, and you react emotionally to things, when if you just sit back and think about it, things will probably be okay.
Yeah, interesting. And so then if you kind of like went the other direction in time and move forward to the end of your career, or the end of your life even, and look back, what would you like your legacy to be?
I really believe so. One of the things I'm passionate about, I know we've talked about this, is that I'm a musician. I wrote 2 albums. I opened for Coolio. Long time ago. I did some crazy stuff, and I'm really passionate about music, and I'm determined to keep music in my life in many ways. I just wrote 2 music videos for Dave Asprey with his Bulletproof, his book Headstrong that's coming out, and I think it's going to be a blast. But I think I want to be known to have taught people how to dream. You know what I mean? To help people. I mean, it's hard enough to get through life. I think a lot of kids, their mom and dad say, go to school for this or that. Dreaming isn't going to get you where you want to be. But it's the dreamers in life that do the greatest things in the world. So I want to be known for someone who really inspires people to dream and go after their own stuff.
And amazing that you've been able to turn your business into a platform for making that happen for.
I'm writing jingles and little viral videos for what my clients are asking me to do it more and more.
Oh my God!
So it's fun doing it, and I'm good at it. I mean, so it's I'm really passionate about it, and I have fun even when I'm writing like recruiting videos. I had a kid who was a beatboxer, and I'm like, oh, come in and beatbox, and I wrote a little 1-minute rap about hiring. If you want to work where your boss is not a jerk. It was funny. I mean, we got 3,700 views off from it or whatever, just in the little town of Hermosillo, and people were watching it and coming in off the streets wanting to know what our culture was about.
Oh my gosh.
So I have a lot of fun with music. So I think looking forward, it would be that I allowed people the room to dream. And I've got a girl in my company right now who's an incredible painter, incredible artist. She gave me a piece of art to put up on my office wall. And I'm really inspired by her, and I want to see her just go out and change the world with her art. Yeah. And I look forward to the day when somebody who worked for me invites me to their big house on the hill, and is showing me all the things they've accomplished because they were inspired by Listen Trust, our company and our brand, and the way that we try to treat people.
Yep. Awesome.
Yeah.
So what does it mean, do you think, to be a modern entrepreneur?
I think you got to have giant balls. I think that's maybe one of the first things, because it's definitely, people think it's great, and you do have more control over your time, but it's the only place where you're giving up your 40-hour job to work 80 to 120 hours, which you've heard over and over again. And it does allow you some freedom, but you're really, being a modern entrepreneur means you found a passion, something that you feel strongly about. It also means you found something that could potentially pay you some money. And you found other people who kind of you drag along in your crazy idea. I know Cameron Harold runs his little video where he's got the one guy dancing on the hill, and then everybody starts to join him. And I think being a modern entrepreneur is that one guy who's crazy enough to go out and rip his shirt off and dance by himself in the middle of a field, and hope that other people can join him and support him along the way. And I think that's what a modern entrepreneur is. It's a high risk business, and you're rolling the dice no matter what you do, and it's definitely stress on your family as well sometimes. But I think if you believe in what you're doing, then you're living a life that you should be proud of.
Awesome. Thanks so much for being here. I
Good.
really appreciate it.
Anything else? Did I drag you too far off track?
Nope, it's perfect.
Good.
Will you sign our wall?
Sure.
Thanks.
Wall of Fame.
Yeah.
Everyone's telling them how wrong they are. They're too fat, they don't smell right, they're not the right color, they're not making enough money. Like, everywhere they go, they're getting all this messaging about how they're wrong. And so if you're willing to put attention on people and approve of them and find them right, good stuff happens to you.